Hi guys, welcome again to Asian Adjacent. I'm James Lott Jr. Yes, I'm combing my hair in front of you guys. I was like, let me do this really quick while I talk to you. So, my friends were like, okay, we see you in pictures with Asians. We see you as a kid with Asians. You calling them mommy and daddy and uncle. What's going on? So, today's episode, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what the relationship I have with the Asian community in my life. Okay, that's better. I think do something for my hair. So that's why this show is dedicated to my mom, Wendy, who passed away in 2018 from breast cancer. She was Chinese. So my parents my biological parents, Benita and Jim, went to Maynard Arts High School here in Los Angeles, in South LA. And it's very diverse over here. And back then, in the 50s, 60s, it was. They had Asian and black and white, Latino all in the same neighborhood. And so their friend group was very diverse. I look at their yearbooks and it was very diverse. It was like, oh, wow, it's kind of fun. They were friends with everybody. So then, just a long story short, my mother and father were friends with these two people, Ken and Wendy. So they're all part of certain groups, and they all became friends in high school and everything. So Ken and Wendy got together as high school sweethearts and got together and were dating. My mom got with my father, and they were dating. So then my parents got married at some point. Well, they got married at some point. Had me at some point. And made Ken and Wendy my bonus parents. You say godparents. I had several godparents, but they made them my bonus parents. And from before birth. It was when I came into the world. Ken and Wendy were right there. So, growing up, I was always over with them or with my mom. Everybody had to work. Everybody was going to school. They had to work. It just, takes a village to raise somebody, that kind of thing. And that's what happened to me. So I don't remember this, but at some point, I was calling Wendy mom. Now, some of you guys may not know this, or some of you guys do who watch my other shows, I call my mother Benita. When I was a kid, I called her Bonnie. That was her nickname. So I would call this Chinese woman mom, and my twin mother, you guys people don't know, look just like me, I would call her Bonnie. It just was. That's how it was. And the thing about with Wendy and Ken's families, they took me in. I basically was, because Ken and Wendy hadn't had any kids yet. And so basically I was their kid, because I was half the time with them. And so for me growing up, where I was good, because some of the family owned Chinese restaurants. I was going through the back doors, Chinese restaurants. Grandma, her mom, I called her grandma, and she always spoke Chinese, always spoke Mandarin. And I guess when I was a baby and when I was a young kid, I understood Mandarin. I wish we kept going with that, but didn't. But at one point, I did understand it apparently. And her brothers, my uncles, Uncle Ronnie and all that, they're my uncles and aunts, and just on both sides, for me, it was a beautiful experience because I come from a multicultural family already from my own parents, and then I had them added in there. So for me, it was just normal. But I realized for my friends though, at the time, this was the 70s, it was not normal, but for me, it was. When I started school in the early 70s, where I lived in LA, we called it Mid Wilshire. Now it's called Longwood Estates or Mid City in LA, and it was mostly Jewish, black, or Korean. My first friends was Ellen Bang, and we're still friends to this day. She's on the East Coast. She's Korean, and we were friends, and also, just and regular white folks. They're all mixed together. So they're all mixed together. So just for me, it was all just continuing. But half my time would be spent back and forth with both my sets of parents. And they used to always joke, walking down the street holding the hand of like Mom Wendy, some folks thought I was just a mixed race kid. And until they saw a kid walk up, they were thinking, transracial adoptions weren't the biggest thing yet. I mean, they came a little later. There was some happening, but it was always made for jokes with her. But I felt very comfortable in both worlds. And the one thing that was great about Mom, Wendy, and Kim, they were much stricter than my biological parents were. So I learned a lot about etiquette and respect. My Auntie Deanna, which was Wendy's sister, I loved her. But what's so funny is that, and I say this with just all over, because they grew up in a neighborhood, they were times blacker than me. They were like, first of all, they sounded black. I remember, and I just makes me laugh, but they would call, back when we had answering machines, and they would call Auntie Deanna or Wendy or Uncle Ronnie would call my house to leave me a message to call them back. My friends were like, "Oh, your mom called, blah, blah." I go, "Yeah." And when I showed them who she was, where she came to visit once, and they're like, "That's the same lady." I'm like, I know they sound totally black on the phone. And you know what I mean when I say sound black? They did not say, it was hilarious. It was just that they grew up in the neighborhood. They grew up in the hood. There was no act. There was no airs. It's just the intonation, the way they spoke. It was just like, it was natural. And they weren't trying to be anything. It just when you grow up in the neighborhood, you sound like that. And so it was always a fun source of amusement for us, because of that. But for me, it was just normal. And then her and Ken got married. Now, I would do a separate episode on that. That's a whole other story. About 1975, 76. Japanese and Chinese marrying each other. That was very taboo. It was a big deal. And it was a lavish way, but I'll talk about that in another episode. I want to save that for another episode. It was really good. I was the ring bearer, so I was in it. So I was their kid for the longest time. Later, they had kids, my brother Colin, sister Carrie, and they look at me as their older brother. I mean, literally. The family does. And that was the beautiful thing, is that, and they moved out to Montebello, which had a large Asian community out there. And I used to always go to their house, I used to love going to their house, and they made such good food all the time. But that's where I learned, when I was a kid, you couldn't drink your drink until you finished your food, or most of your food, then you could have your drink. I just learned a lot of manners, and learned a lot and also I was an overachiever as a kid, imagine that. And so Wendy and them fostered that whole situation of education is important, get your education. So myself, my brother and sister from her, we all got educations. We all did. We all got major education. We followed in that footsteps. She was a dental hygienist by the end. Ken was in the Navy. And so I just grew up, it was part of my life. I never really questioned it or anything. And whenever there was a wedding, I was there. Whenever there was a funeral, I was there. I think about one of the last times I was at a funeral for the family, and I was just sitting in the back, and they're like, "No, James, you are part of the family. You sit in the front." I was like, "Okay." I was like, I went to the front and helped represent part of the family. So I almost forgot about that. I was like, that was really cool. So that's why, and then just grew up in Los Angeles. My first loves were Filipino. We ate Chinese food, went to New York, Chinese food. So I'm gonna do an episode on why I think Chinese food in New York's the best. I'm gonna get to that story. There's another episode. But I grew up multiculturally over here too. South LA was a little more multicultural in the 80s, people think it was. And I'm going to talk about that in a future episode too, how, we had the Korean markets, but we had a lot of Filipino and some Chinese and Japanese. We have a big Chinatown here, and we all grew up together. I had a multicultural friendships too. I grew up with all kinds of people too. Plus, I worked at jobs that were very, mixed up also. And yeah, now I've never been to any Asian countries. That's on my list. I have been to Hawaii, which has a large Japanese population there. I got to do that. That was a lot of fun. I'll probably do an episode on that too at some point. That. And then I have cousins, so to add into there, I have cousins on my father's side. They're half Filipino. And I met my first cousin, Lee, back when I was like 10 or 11, and just thought she was beautiful. I just thought, oh my God, who are these people? And I get to meet her siblings, and we're all friends now. You know, we're all cousins and friends now, especially on Facebook. So I have that arm of the family there also. And then my daughter married a man who is half Filipino, half black. So my grandkids are a quarter Filipino, or however that works out. So that's right. It's very, oh my God, they're so cute. Oh my God, they're such cute kids. If I say so myself. Then I found out my ancestry DNA that I have some Asian in me also. I'm gonna do an episode on that too, because when I found that out, I was like, oh, and where it's from and all that is very interesting. So as you can see, I have been Asian adjacent my whole life, and it's been a wonderful experience for me. I love other cultures. But I love that I know these cultures because I grew up with them, and it serves me well in my work today. I do a lot of multicultural work, and I work with a lot of, on my shows, you'll see it, Asian insurance companies and things like that. We talk about, we showcase them and talk about serving the communities, and I just love that I love that I don't have a narrow view of life. And this show is just basically it's another slice. It's part of our society and culture series. Just say something that I'm just sharing that that everybody doesn't grow up the same. That some of us do grow up with different twists. And for me, it was all good. It was all good. I mean, I never forget. I was thinking, as I'm talking to you guys, I'm thinking of this one time. I'm at Long Beach Airport. So I was going to Sacramento to visit my kids, my grandkids. My sister Carrie was going to school at UC Davis. I was going to, and she was right outside Sacramento. So she's up there. So I'm at the bar having a drink because I hate flying. So I hate to fly. So I'm at the bar having a drink, and then I hear Jamie. That was my childhood name. If very few people call me Jamie, if there are very few folks I let call me Jamie, even into adulthood, Mom Wendy was one of them. And I turn around, and there's her and Ken. I'm like, oh my God, we were on the same flight. And it was JetBlue, so you had assigned seating. Their seats were 2 rows behind me. It was crazy. Same side of the plane. It was so weird. So we're flying. Sacramento was like a 45-minute flight. It was like really quick. So we landed. I got off the plane first. I was ahead of her. So I waited for them. We walked out together. And they got to see my daughter. I think she didn't have any kids with her. So they got to see my daughter. And I got to see my sister. We all got to see each. We had like a little family moment. I'll just never forget that at Sacramento Airport. It was like so weird. I don't know how long they were staying or anything. And I was there for like 2 or 3 days. So it was kind of funny that we were on the same flight. And see, Long Beach Airport is the smaller airport than LAX. I love Long Beach Airport because they don't. I almost wish it was a little bigger for more flight options, but it's easy breezy cover. You just can get in and out of there so easily. Anybody who's on Long Beach knows this, and they've really fixed it up. Like I remember when it was like bare bones, and they started really fixing it up. So, but I know that bar very well. I was in that bar all because I hate flying. Oh my God, I need to drink before I get on that plane. So anyway, so that's what this episode's about. Why I'm part of this community, and we'll have more episodes coming out every week talking about this. This is Asian Adjacent. I'm James Law Jr. We'll talk to you next time.